or people that are in business, we motivate each other with stories, but young people are looking for inspiration, ideas, I think we'd be going live. Oh, we're already live. So we are live.
From AM 1680, this is Business Leaders with Lance Cardoza, the behind-the-scenes story of the business shakers and movers in the Valley and beyond. And now, here's your host, Lance Cardoza.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Talk Radio 1680 KGED. You're listening to Business Leaders Live, and pretty excited about this week's show. Every time I have somebody in media that works in media, they get what we deal with, and media is under scrutiny all the time now. So, which I think is great because it makes us get on our toes. We get on our toes, and we tend to be better every day at what we do. And I have Brandon Johansen with ABC 30. Brandon, thank you for being on the program today.
Thank you for having me. Good morning. Still
good
waking
morning.
up.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning. So it's a little different for you with radio. You can actually come in a nice, comfortable shirt.
I know. This is great. I don't have to break out the suit or anything. Very relaxed. This is nice. I like this.
Every TV personality that does news or whatever they do in TV comes on the show. They say, I like radio, except for you have to be on all the time. You got to just keep going. But yeah, you could just relax and talk. And you could join us also by going to Talk Radio 1680 KGED on Facebook. We're Facebook Live, where we're streaming, and you'll be able to catch the show there as well. Brandon, with ABC 30, it's a rare thing that we have anybody in the business of news or TV news, and they came from the area. They typically transport. We sort of like a gateway to bigger markets. We're a big market for TV, but we see a lot of really good talent that come to Fresno, and then they are from somewhere else, and they end up going to a bigger TV market. But you were raised here in the Fresno area, and you're back as a boomerang here with ABC 30, which is pretty exciting for you, I'm sure.
Oh, it's been great. It was, when the opportunity came up, I couldn't pass it up. ABC 30 was what I grew up watching. Yeah. And so to have that chance to come back, because you're right. The Valley, Bakersfield, Fresno, both those markets kind of serve as places that people come through. They hone their skills, and they might head off to another area. But Fresno's a little. 30's a little different. We have a lot of people there who have stayed. There's a lot of continuity.
For years, yeah,
been there for many years, and even at some of the other stations too. A lot of continuity in Fresno. I think people get here maybe thinking they might leave, but then they realize that the Valley has a lot to offer, and they stay. And
I do find that. I do find we're a lot of reporters that they first come here and they have this perceived notion, and then they realize, wow, everything is here, and it's really a great place to raise a family and be able to do the business that you love. So it's I always see, but you do see some of the younger ones that have come through and they land something big in LA or they land the Bay Area, but they boomerang too. I see those come back. So you grew up, where did you go to school here in the Central Valley?
So I went to Fowler High School. I grew up just outside of Fowler, out on a vineyard out there, and went to Fowler High School, grew up in that community, small town.
Oh, yeah.
Very small town. Yeah. People usually just kind of drive through. You're in Fowler for about 3 seconds when you're coming up the 99, and then you're gone.
Then so at Fowler, you played sports? I think we were talking before the show. Is that where it started, where you were playing sports?
A little bit. Everybody kind of grows up. You play a bunch of different sports. I was never very, very good at any of them. I ran cross country and wrestled in high school. But all this kind of started getting into broadcasting. I was playing baseball, not particularly well, and I got hurt in 8th grade. And after I got hurt, we had our big Easter Classic, the Fowler Easter Classic, and they needed somebody to keep score. And so I was hurt. I couldn't say no. So I went up and kept score. And then the announcer, I don't know, had to go home or got sick. I can't remember what it was. And so they threw me on. And after I did that, they were like, hey, you're not terrible at this. You should, if you want, you could do this for us. And ended up doing that. I did it for the football team, baseball, basketball. I did the morning announcements at school, and it just kind of became a thing where I became comfortable behind a microphone and really enjoyed that. And I just enjoyed meeting all the people that comes with that. Sports was, doing that was fun. You get to meet the players and the coaches and stuff, but that's something that I continue to value.
It's almost like you're on the team. You're a part of the team. You're a part of the show.
Yeah, and Fowler's such a small town that you know everyone. Everyone knows everybody. And, all my friends were on the teams and stuff like that. So it was fun to still be a part of it, even if I wasn't playing and stuff.
Yeah, and then how long did you do that for? Through school?
Through school, and then I got my my GE, did GE rather, over at Reedley College for 2 years. So it kind of went into that as well. They kind of kept me on the hook while I was still at Reedley. I would come back in 2 games. I was trying to wean myself off a little bit by that point, but
aren't you the announcer guy?
Yeah, exactly.
I know that works. Yeah.
I was doing that there, and then I did a little bit over at Reedley College as well for the baseball team and for the football team as well. So it's fun.
So that's sort of we were talking. I had Julia Lopez.
Oh yeah,
with
she's great.
CBS 47. She was on here, and her father worked in sports broadcasting.
Okay,
and she got to go. I think it was Albuquerque. She would go see her father, and it was like an eye-opening experience. Like she was bit by the bug.
Yeah.
And what was that moment for you? Was it the very first time you got on the mic? Because I'm sure you were nervous. I had a very similar story as a kid, so I know that first feeling. But when was it that you were bit by the bug and you said, "Hey, I'm good at this. I like what I'm doing"?
Yeah.
When was it?
I don't know when I realized that I was decent at it. I think I probably had to be told a lot of times before I was, confident about it. But I think it was probably the first time I got on, and when I heard the crowd kind of react, that was cool. And that crowd was made up of people I knew, so it was like it wasn't anything crazy, but it was cool to have that, to everyone reacting to what you're saying. And I had no idea at that time that would eventually transition into reporting or news or anything like that. I had no clue, but I just kind of knew, hey, I want to do something like this, something involving in this
feeling,
medium.
that immediate gratification of the crowd popping. And I work, for those of you that follow me, that I work in the business of professional wrestling and entertainment and sports, and a lot of wrestlers that work through the years, they hear the pop of the crowd and they know they got the crowd, or the ooh, or the whatever, and they're controlling the story. And a lot of them that make the big dance is what they call it WrestleManias, or you're talking 100,000 people sometimes in one big arena. Or they go to Japan or China and they're doing a big show, and the sound from the crowd popping is delayed, and you don't think about that in big performances. And a lot of people that are motivated by the pop of the crowd or the reaction of the audience, it's very different. Also, like when you're doing TV news, you wonder sometimes, is anybody watching this?
Yep,
hello?
all the time.
Is anybody on the radio? Is anybody listening? So you wonder at times. But when you get into the big venues, and I find it funny that you said that, because it translates into acting. When they're doing theater and they get a feel of the crowd, and then they do a movie. And you have a grumpy set that is like waiting for lunch. Yeah, they're not reacting. They're just like, let's get this scene over with. And it's hard. And you see those, like Robert De Niro, you see him perform on camera. He's great, but live in person, he's terrible. That it's very hard sometimes for him. It's very different now. He's got so used to that scene.
Right.
He controls whatever reaction's going on in his head versus really feeling the crowd.
Yeah.
So you heard the crowd, and that got the bug in you. And
and it just, I don't know at the time if I thought, I'll do PA announcing forever, or what it was that I thought at that moment. But it was just something I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the interactions with everyone that I wouldn't have met if I wasn't doing that job. So,
and being able to connect with that. So then from there, you go on to school, you leave the area. Where do you go to school?
I went to Arizona State. I was heading out of town and trying to figure out where to go, and Paul Leffler over at Fresno State does all the games. He's always been a good friend to me, and I've always kind of seen him as a mentor, and I would ask him, what should I do? I know he went to Syracuse, and I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to go to Syracuse, if my mom will let me go all the way over there. But so I was looking for something kind of more West Coast, and he kind of threw out some schools that he knew were good for broadcast. And Arizona State was one of them. And so on one of our family trips, we swung through, and it was just kind of like, this is where I want to be. I always wanted to go to a school, not only that was good for broadcast, but that had a lot of spirit. I wanted that experience, that school spirit. Going to Pac-12 school was a dream, going and being able to go to the games and stuff like that. So yeah, I went to Arizona State for 2.5 years because I already had a lot of my general ed stuff knocked out from Reedley, and love Phoenix. It's a beautiful, beautiful city.
Phoenix is great, and Scottsdale and that whole area. So you get there, do you work in broadcast while you're there? So you start working with the programs that they had?
Did. Yeah. So they had great programs as a school where they had their own newscast that ran on the PBS station. We also were partnered up with Fox Sports Arizona. So I worked in the sports bureau of Cronkite News is what it was called. We were the Walter Cronkite School, and we would write pieces or do videos that then Fox Sports Arizona would air or they would put on their website, which was awesome.
Yeah.
And at the same time, while I'm doing that, I would intern for the ESPN, the local ESPN affiliate, and then for Fox Sports Arizona as well. So we're staying busy.
Staying busy and get involved and sort of seeing what it's really like
both
to get
sides,
in.
Radio and TV. I was trying to do both.
So when we come back, we'll talk about where you go from college. So there you land something, you end up in Bakersfield, and then slowly but surely you found your way back home. We'll be right back with Brandon Johansen with ABC 30 right here on Business Leaders Live. I almost screwed up. I own Business Street, and we do Business Street's 40 Under 40. I've been talking 40 Under 40 this past couple of weeks. All this is like with business Streets 40 Under 40, and I caught myself like, oh no. Reminder that if you haven't got your nomination in for the 40 Under 40 and you're on Facebook, you go to 40.com, and I'll mention that when we come back on the air, but make sure you get your nominations in. Have you heard of the 40 Under 40? Oh, it's great. It's been 14 years, I believe, that I've hosted the 40 Under 40. Every major city has a 40 Under 40 of individuals that have rise to success, or they're the future of Fresno, the Valley, and in the 4-county area from Tulare, Kings, Fresno, Madera County. And we've gone up Stanislaus. We've had a couple that have been a part of it. Over the years, we've recognized 40 individuals in the class that are the future of the Valley.
Oh, cool.
And rising stars, and a lot of people have connected that were been nominees and honorees of the classes and started businesses over the years. So it's been pretty cool.
That's great. Collaboration.
Nominations are coming in. We have a big event on December 5th, and we're getting ready to announce here pretty soon where we're going to do the event. And
great.
It's a great networking event.
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of fun. And you can go to 40.com. You can see all the past honorees. Yeah.
Sweet.
We've had
Very
mayors. Cool. Ashley was in it. We've had all sorts of people over the years.
Nice.
Very cool. Alan Autry's always wanted to be in it, but
he never made it.
No. I joke about it all the time. He goes, "Hey, brother, you got a 50 over 50." And then it was like, "You have a 60 over 60. Hey, brother, you have a 70 over 60. Yeah, no.
What is he up to now?
Doing movies. He's got a big film that they're getting ready to work on.
Okay.
He had Victory by Submission, really good film. And I talk about it. I was sitting next to Chief Dyer at the time when it came out. It came out about, I think a little over a year ago, and then it went to First Church Films, Christian film. I was the ring announcer in the movie.
That's cool.
Yeah, he roped me into it. "Hey, brother, what are you doing today?" I said, "Hey, I haven't heard from you in 6 months." I said, "I'm coming back from L.A. I was ring announcing." "Oh, that's what I wanted to talk to you about."
Perfect.
He goes, "Come by the Rainbow Ballroom." I'm like, "What are you doing at the Rainbow Ballroom?" I show up, and they're filming a movie.
Of course.
Yeah.
Casually.
Filming a movie. Casey Olsen was in it, and Lee Majors was in it. It was a good film. Cool. And when I saw it on the screen, Chief Dyer elbows me and goes, "That's actually a pretty good movie." I said, you weren't expecting much either. No, it was really a good film. So I apologize, Alan, but there's your plug. Victory by Submission. It's a good film. Cool. It was really good. So, but it's in First Church Films right now.
You are listening to Business Leaders with Lance Cardoza, the behind-the-scenes story of the business shakers and movers in the Valley and beyond. Once again, here's Lance Cardoza.
Welcome back, everybody. I got a little messed up there at the end. I was thinking, I almost said Business Street's 40 Under 40. I was telling Brandon this during the break, that for the past couple of weeks, we've been getting the final nominations coming in, and we're getting ready to recognize the class of 2019's 40 Under 40. And BusinessStreetOnline.com's hosted that event for nearly, I believe, 14 years. I can't remember exactly, but you can go to 40.com, click nominations, and submit your nomination. We'll be closing those nominations in the next 24 hours and announcing the class shortly of 2019's 40 Under 40. So a lot of fun. So make sure you do that. Go to 40.com. And Business Leaders Live, if you'd like to catch any past episode or this episode with Brandon Johansen with ABC 30, you can go to lancecardoza.com later this afternoon, and his episode will be placed on the website lancecardoza.com. Brandon, you went to school first you were here in Fresno, you end up in Arizona. You're working in broadcast, you're cutting your teeth and figuring out that you're liking what you're doing, and you want to continue to do something in that space, and you end up in Bakersfield. So you got close. You didn't come. It's like me. I boomeranged, and when I came back, I was from Hanford.
Okay.
I said, I'm never coming back. So when I came back, I came to Riverdale.
Close, but not
I didn't
too
want to
close.
lose my $30 bet and love Hanford, but I never went back. I made sure. So I went to Riverdale, then Selma, then got over to Fresno. So it's like you went to Bakersfield. So you're a little bit farther away, and you worked in the market in Bakersfield?
I did, yeah. I was doing a lot of sports stuff in college. That was, but from starting in the PA announcing of sports, that was kind of my goal was sports. And then kind of going through college, you realize, man, that's tough business. Sports is, it's fun. I love it, but it's tricky to get jobs right out of school. And sports, I think even more than news, really involves a lot of moving. You talk about the reporters who come through and go off to other markets. I think sports can be even worse than regular news can.
Oh yeah, and very competitive.
Very competitive. Yeah. And for me, it was kind of one of those things where I always said, I love sports and I would do it again for the right opportunity, but let me try this news thing. And the job in Bakersfield worked out after ASU, and went there. I had family in Bakersfield, so I knew what I was getting into. A lot of people coming into Bakersfield from school had no idea what Bakersfield is, and that was always fun to because we had multiple students who came from ASU to the station in Bakersfield, and they were coming from, maybe they grew up in New York or they grew up somewhere, and they're like, oh, this is Bakersfield, and they'd never been to the Central Valley, and I kind of knew what Bakersfield was, so I was almost felt at home because it's right down the 99. I was an hour and a half from home, and it was great, and I discovered that while I was there that I had a passion for news in the same way that I have a passion for sports. So it just worked out that way. I still I got to do Friday night football down there, so I was still getting my sports fix. But I worked there for about 3 years. I
think you got an Emmy while working down there.
I was nominated for a couple Emmys. I was nominated. Yeah, okay. I was nominated for a couple Emmys. One was for a story on it was a cold case story. Little girl who was killed back in the 90s, and talking with her family. It was 20 some odd years later, talking with them and trying to bring that case back up. And then there was one when all the stuff about Roundup and Monsanto came out about potentially causing cancer in farmers. That was nominated as well. So got to do that whole experience, go to the Emmy Awards and stuff like that. And that was something. And but while I was there, I was working as the weekend anchor, and then I was reporting during the week, a couple days a week. So kind of doing. Yeah,
you were thrusted right in it and getting to experience it.
Thrusted into it. I would fill in on sports. I would fill in on weather, just kind of whatever they needed. That's just being the jack of all trades has probably been my strongest suit so far, is just being like, okay, whatever you need.
and you'll learn. That's the best way to learn on the job. And then when that spot, just like the announcing spot, came open, you're the Johnny on the spot. You're the guy that they can put right in and have them do that. And they told you that I had a similar, I think during the break, that similar story with was an umpire in Little League. Yeah. And then all of a sudden there was the All-Star game, and Jim Kilner came to me and said, hey, you're going to announce tonight. And I'm like, oh, really? And he's like, yeah, I need you to announce. Get on that mic. Read those names. And ended up doing that. And like my mom always said, he was a much better announcer than an umpire. Just because I had to throw my dad out of the game. And I was
just once.
Oh, just once. Well, it was a couple times. But anyways, Yeah. So, you go back to those moments in life to where that's some of the best things that happen to people in business too. When you're there, you have to learn to say no at times, but you have to be able to learn all the positions in which the machine runs at times to make yourself a position for yourself.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times that you get in as an intern and they think, okay, I'm in this lane. This is what I do. And I don't want to learn that, or I don't want to know how that works. But sometimes you cut your nose off, spite your face. You want to be in this business, but you don't want to know how the business works. And there's been many people that have paved the way for you.
Yeah.
So, and they end up knowing everything about the business. So when you get a chance to do that, the door's open.
No, and I think it's incredibly important, not just, on my side, I'm on air, so I know all the on air stuff, but I try to know everything I can about the behind the scenes stuff too. When I was in Bakersfield, I was producing my own shows sometimes, and it's like just knowing how everything works is so good. I think on both sides of the ball, it's just we need to, as a news station, as a radio station, whatever it is that you're doing, it helps so much to know what each side puts in and contributes, because it's all, as you know, it's all a machine, and if one part doesn't work, the whole thing
the whole thing can fall apart. And that is very comforting too, that you know that you can assist, and be able to help. When you get in to the ABC 30, then, so you're there for 3 years in Kern, and you come up to ABC 30, and that was, like we mentioned earlier in the program, that was a probably exciting day for you to say, wow, I grew up watching ABC 30, and now I'm a part of ABC 30.
Yeah, no, I mean, getting to walk in and Warren Armstrong's there, Liz Harrison's there. I mean, I never tell them this because I don't want to make them feel old, but I tell them, I grew up watching them. I mean,
well, you just told them they're going to hear it now.
I know. Yeah, they're probably going to give me.
Yeah, no, they're
give
great,
me something for this.
Great people, yeah.
They are. They're great, but it was just really cool to be able to walk in and be like, wow, these are guys I grew up watching and idolizing in getting into this business. So
you get there, and then your position, you work the digital department, but that doesn't mean you're just doing social media stuff. I mean, there's a lot involved with that. It's
the hardest job I've ever had to explain, I think. I mean, it's, for all intents and purposes, I'm a reporter. I'm on both sides of the digital and on TV. I'm used on both. But I think it's just kind of a different workflow, whereas your typical reporter will go out, they get their assignment in the morning, and they go out and they turn something for the 5 p.m. that day. They're live at the scene, whatever it is. With me, I kind of, we work on a different time schedule online. I'll go out on a Monday, and maybe I'll shoot 2 or 3 stories, and then I'll edit them all on Tuesday, and then we'll schedule them out to post online the rest of the week while I'm on to the next thing. Instead of the day turn, I get to kind of take a little more time with stuff and really put that extra effort into it. And these are longer pieces, but they run online, they run on TV. They're very few things don't end up making it from online to TV.
So, and what you were saying, they're a little bit longer because with social, you can dig into the story a little more, give a little more content.
Yeah, and it's it's all based off of what are the surveys showing that people want? Because it seems like not that long ago we were told, oh, people only have the attention span for something under a minute. Well, now we're getting stuff back that says, no, people want long form content. On Facebook, we're doing stuff like 3 minutes. On YouTube, people say they want stuff that's closer to 7 minutes, 8 minutes. They want long, in-depth stuff, which is so hard to do on a broadcast when you're confined to your time. So that's kind of what we're experimenting. It's all an experiment, and that's what's fun.
And it's ever evolving and changing.
Very.
When Facebook Live, which we are, if you want to see this live and see Brandon, you can go to Talk Radio 1680 KGED, and you can be able to watch it live on Facebook. But Facebook Live was sort of like, I know, just like newspapers freaked out when Yahoo came around the corner, and I worked in the newspaper business, and I said, guys, you need to embrace this fast and almost cut the head of the snake off, understand what they're doing and get it engaged and involved, work with them versus trying to ignore it. Because same with Facebook Live. When it came out, a lot of TV news thought, oh, no, but they've embraced it. Now, when you see breaking news, you're typically getting it through your social source on a Facebook Live feed coming from the station, and then you tune in to the station to get the recap on everything.
Yeah.
So it seems to be that way.
Yeah, and it is Facebook Live and social media in general has become just as much, if not more, of a focus than TV itself. Obviously, TV is the big one. At the end of the day, we have our hits at 5 and 6 and everything, and that is those are still the big, what we're aiming for. But social media can be up anytime. We can put stuff up any time of the day, and that is just, you get so many eyeballs on social media, and you can get more eyeballs on social media than you would on TV, because TV, it's done. Yeah. Social media, it lives up there forever, and it can get shared all over the place. It can go national. So that's something I've loved so far of working for 30, is that they as a company are very bought into that hey, we're very good at the TV thing, but we also need to continue to adapt and really make sure that we are putting our money where our mouth is on the digital side.
So let me ask you a question. When you're doing Facebook Live and you have a Facebook Live broadcast, do you see you get a ton of traffic from that because it is a longer form? Like car chase or whatever the big news is?
Oh, man, the car chases, they always go crazy.
Go crazy. People go nuts over it.
Oh, it's nuts. Yeah, and it's such a shareable thing. They see car chase and they just share, and it just gets all over the place. Those do really well, as far as the numbers go, and it just depends. Facebook Lives can be used in a lot of different ways. It's a car chase. It's some of the anchors use it as a kind of behind the scenes look. They're getting ready for the show and they do behind the scenes, and they'll chat with their co-anchors, and people love that. They like to see the behind the curtains, because that's one thing we've really noticed too, is that people are looking for authenticity in news. That the generation that is coming up through school right now, they're kind of tired of the the very stoic anchorman look sometimes, and they want to see something that, hey, it's a little more real. And that is something that we go for in Facebook Lives. That's something that I go for in my stories. It's just, hey, I'm just a guy. I'm not I'm not usually in a suit. I don't think I'm above anybody. I'm just like you guys, and I just want to tell somebody else's story.
Exactly. And I think I go back to the days of big talk show, Johnny Carson, and I always thought, I want to look behind the curtain when he comes through the curtain. And as a kid, you look at that and you think, you got to pull the curtain back, sort of show you and sometimes the reel is not very pretty. It's not a suit. It's not pretty back there. And people love to see the newsroom. And that's what I think they love about when Warren and Liz do the stand-up in the newsroom.
Yeah, you see
some of your favorites moving around, and maybe you might catch something funny, or Liz might fall off of her apple box.
It's funny. Yeah,
there's a lot of fun stuff that happens.
We're all hiding behind walls when that shot comes up. Everybody comes over and they're hiding behind cubicle walls,
waiting.
Yep, and they wait, and then everybody starts going again.
And then they go again. So it's cool to see the behind the scenes. So I get what you're saying. I can see where viewers and listeners want to get in and see the inside. Yeah. That's why I think Facebook Live does well with us when we're doing the show. Yeah. We'll be right back. More with Brandon Johansen with ABC 30 right here on Business Leaders Live. Talk Radio 1680 KGED. So on the final, are we in the final segment? Let me think about it. Have we done 3?
I think we've done 2, right?
Have we done 2?
Yeah.
Okay, so we got 2 more. So when we come back out of it, maybe let's talk about some stories of some experiences that you've had. A lot of times, maybe one of the most proudest moments that you had. We'll talk about that. And then maybe something that just wasn't going right. Okay. A lot of people like to hear about how do you get through it and how do you overcome that. I'll give you plenty of time to think about it.
Yeah. Everything's gone well here so far. I might have to go back to Bakersfield. Something that's gone wrong.
It's always the first experiences you're learning and figuring out how it's done.
Yeah, no, that's true. And that's probably what I would go to, is like my first breaking news situations or something like that.
You don't want to remind ABC 30 what maybe didn't go right.
Right, no. Everything's been great.
It's been perfect. Haven't had any problem. Hey, Woody. Woody. Are you over there? Woody, our engineer. Hey, Woody, did we have a phone? Did someone call? I know the phones were ringing. Did someone call, or they were just calling you? Someone was calling?
Oh, no.
Oh, okay.
Oh, no,
I kept seeing the
telemarketer.
Oh.
they take more than 2 seconds to answer.
Yeah, you cut them out. Yeah, I saw him bouncing on here. Typically, we don't have any callers call in, and I'm thinking he kept picking up the phone. I'm like, what's going on? And I don't see any like world news stuff going on in this thing. They've got some movie going on.
Yeah, it's probably just my mom calling.
Just make That's funny. So mom wouldn't have let you go to Syracuse, just too far.
She would have let me. It's just, it would have been like, that's a long ways, and
rethink this.
Yeah, and Arizona State it's just close enough. It's not an easy drive. It's like probably a solid 8.5 hours, but you can do it in a day.
What's mom's name?
Debbie.
Is Debbie watching right now?
She's actually in Phoenix. My brother just had a baby, so she's in Phoenix meeting my niece. So I kind of doubt that she is watching right now.
Yeah, well, she'll be able to catch it later.
Yeah.
Facebook, it lives forever.
Cool. Yeah, I know, which is scary.
Or get ready to come back.
Okay.
Giving you the inside story of business leaders in the Valley and beyond. This is Business Leaders with Lance Cardoza.
Welcome back, everybody, to Business Leaders Live every Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. We bring you Business Leaders Live with business leaders throughout the Valley and abroad. And I love the boomerang stories, and we got another boomerang story right here in the studios at Talk Radio 1680 KGED. And also, you can join us on Facebook Live at Talk Radio 1680 KGED, or by going to my Facebook or our website later today at lancecardoza.com. A lot of faithful listeners, viewers, and it never fails. Almost every week, Tuesday mornings at 9 a.m. Usually my mom is telling me, you got to cut that hair, kid. So she's watching on Facebook Live. But this time it was a old family friend of ours, Debbie Sturgis. Debbie, thank you for watching. And she waves. And Debbie, so there's a shout out for you on the radio. Brandon, we were talking about your mom before we went to the break. That going to Syracuse was like, okay, that might be a little too far for mom, but Phoenix, and mom is in Phoenix now?
She's actually in Phoenix right now. My brother just had a baby, so his wife just had a baby, so she is there with my dad, and they're meeting my little niece right now, and I'm trying to figure out when I'll be able to get out there very soon, hopefully.
So you're an uncle. Is the very first time as an uncle?
First time, my only brother just had the first, so that's their first grandbaby, and first time as an uncle. So
wow, yeah, so they're
a lot of responsibility as an uncle.
And they're from here in Fresno.
They're from here, all my family, not all, but the majority of my family is still here, and that was a huge draw to come back. Everyone is very rooted here in the Valley, so. Yeah, it's fun to have them.
Brought you back here. So 9 months now with ABC 30, working in the digital news delivery system. Like you're saying, it's very hard to explain to people, but you're jack of all trades, which you're good at. That you jump in and take where it needs to happen. Yeah. So with working in Bakersfield, we were talking about during the break, maybe something when you first start in the business, nothing always goes right.
No, it rarely does in TV. Yeah. There's always, it just seems like it's a business that something is bound to go wrong all the time, especially when you're on those day turns where you're turning stuff around. Viewers, they see the product at 5 o'clock, and they typically don't understand that the hours prior to that were just a nightmare to get it on the air sometimes.
Yeah. It might have looked pretty when you watched it, but getting to that point was...
that minute and a half story, that looked good. Okay, on to the next one. It's like, that was a lot of work. That took a long time to do. And
talk about a long time to do, that minute 30. I don't think people really grasp sometimes what it takes to get that out, but... You go to that 9 a.m. morning meeting and you're talking about that night's news, but you don't just sit around and, watch your favorite TV show and drink a cup of Starbucks.
I wish.
And it's just going to happen, and you jump on camera. There's a lot of prep work.
Yeah.
Getting on the phone, finding your sources, and putting your story together.
Yeah.
I mean, what starts right after that 9 a.m. meeting?
Yeah. Then after the meeting, you typically have your assignment, and you just start making calls immediately. And I could count on one hand the amount of times that somebody was like, I'm ready to meet now for that interview. That would be great. You know, if you can get that interview at 10 o'clock, 10:30, you're great because you're not live for hours. Typically, they're like, oh, I can meet you at 1. I can meet you at 2. I can meet you at 3.
Yeah.
We're getting a little tight there.
Yeah.
But sometimes you do what you got to do. You know, you figure out, you have to just start prioritizing. Okay, my interview can't meet until 2. What can I knock out until then? Okay, you go get your video of the scene or whatever it is. Your other interviews, you try to line up. And it's just, it's tricky sometimes because not everyone, obviously, they're not working on your schedule typically. They're working on their schedule. They're at their job. They're at whatever it is.
Yeah. And they just got a call from a reporter.
Out
and
of
that's
nowhere.
always, from, the other side of that.
Sure.
It makes people think, oh, I got to go on camera.
Right.
And we think nothing of it, but people are freaked out.
All the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
And sometimes no show you.
Yeah. Oh,
but,
yes.
But you still have to put your story out.
You still got to make it happen. And, there will be times where you're working on your story and then at 2 o'clock, something happens and throw it all out. You're on to the next one.
And those are the frustrating ones, aren't they?
Those are the frustrating ones.
You
throw
put
your
all
story
that
away.
work. And it's usually something really, I hate to say it, but it's really lame.
Yes. Yes.
And the producers are like, nope, we're on this. Forget that now.
Throw it away.
And you're like,
throw out the rundown.
no.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's frustrating. But yeah, I mean, it's hours of interviewing. A typical interview, depending on what the story is, it can go for half an hour. Sometimes it can go more. And then, for myself, I was always I would shoot it and write it and edit it as well. In a market like Fresno, typically a lot of the reporters, they work with photojournalists, video journalists, and so it's a team of 2. So you kind of split those duties in half. But when I was doing it, and then for myself now, in my role now, I do all of those things, shooting, writing, and editing. So it's all, those are the writing and editing. Those are hours-long processes. So it is funny.
Editing alone.
That
could take forever.
It takes time, and it is funny when you look at the final product. It's like all that. It's a minute and a half.
Yeah, that's it. It's done. It took all day trying to piece that together.
There's a lot that goes into it, and some stories are a lot easier than others. That's for sure.
So in Bakersfield, when you were there, when you first were cutting your teeth on it, you got a little experience in ASU and being able to experience all sorts of different aspects. But you get into the real world job and you come to Bakersfield and something doesn't go right. Do you recall like that first moment of
panic?
Panic. The whole world's coming down on you.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I didn't. ASU was great at giving kids live experience and everything, but the way my schooling went, I was working for the Sports Bureau, and we did a lot of writing. I did a lot of writing and video work. I never actually went live at school. I was probably one of my friends who didn't go live. So I had never gone live before when I got to Bakersfield. And I don't think I told anyone that, but I just, I
could do that.
Yeah, totally. It's easy.
Yeah.
And my first break.
Best way to learn.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that is how I learn. I don't learn by listening or reading a book or whatever. I just have to do it. I have to get thrown into it.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened. There was a breaking news. It was a car crash or something. I don't even remember. And I went out there and, God, it was not good. And I got back. And my anchor, who was a good friend and mentor down there. I mean, Tim Callahan just said, "Do you want to talk about what just happened?" Yeah. Like, yeah, that'd probably be good.
Let's talk through
Let's talk about it. And I remember we had, while we were running it on TV, they were also running it to Facebook Live. So it lived there. It's probably still there. And I remember people were commenting. And as you know, the internet is a vicious place.
Oh, yes.
It is. It's a terrible, terrible place. And people were very mean. I just remember those few tough times off the top in Bakersfield. All my family members would read the comments and they'd start like, "Oh, let's fight these people."
Yeah, they would argue with them, which I would tell people, don't feed into it.
Exactly. These people, that's exactly what they thrive off of is the interaction. And that took a while. I mean, that's still something that I think people in news that we all have to we have to get used to and deal with.
You got to check at the door.
You do.
Yeah.
You do.
And a lot of the women in TV news too really
especially
get
the
abused.
women.
Yes, they're really abused on social and shamed and
it's brutal.
It's
and
very brutal.
It's maddening as somebody who works with these women, these incredibly talented women, to see that people reduce them sometimes to what it is they're wearing or what their hair looks like or something. And it's like, it's just, you wish you could, get jump on there and
just
go after these guys.
And it's vicious. I tell people all the time, you have to ignore the haters. And you have to move forward. If you have people hating, that means you have people listening and people watching.
True.
And there's always going to be that. And you have to just be the bigger person.
Yeah.
And realize that you're in the entertainment business, delivering the news. It's the same thing. You're an entertainment product. And when you're out there giving that information, you're always going to have somebody that's not everybody likes Brad Pitt. And I'm sure Brad Pitt gets hell all the time, you know, for he's got those haters. There's always somebody that's going to hate on you. And it's easy to hide behind a keyboard and these people to do that.
They're very brave. And that was, I remember that one time there was a guy who would always comment on our stories on 23 ABC, and he would all the time just troll the heck out of us. And I went to I was at a court case, and I was sitting there getting ready, and one of the witnesses, they call him up, and it was that guy. They call his name. And he would not make eye contact with me the entire time. When
you heard the name?
Oh, I knew. I was like, that's him.
That's him.
That's the guy. His name was ingrained in my brain because he was one of those guys that would just go at us for everything. Every little thing. Every story he would comment.
Yeah.
And it was just one of those interactions like, oh, okay. So you're not buying a keyboard now. So it's a little different.
It's a little different. Yeah. I'm right here. Hello.
Yeah.
I love it.
It was funny.
I love it. So so you did your first live hit, and that was an experience.
It was an experience, learning experience,
and you got through it.
Yeah, you go out there and you think, I've got all my notes, and that might have been the next one. I had all these notes prepared for my live hit, and then the wind came up and blew my notes away. Oh, and I was like, oh my God, like what do I do?
Message from God.
Yeah, exactly. Like you have you have to adapt. And that time I didn't adapt. That one went really poorly.
Yeah.
But since then, it changes how you do it. You don't have a script that you read off. You just have bullet points. Okay, I want to hit all these points in my head when I'm going live, and you can't rely on a script. So those were, as brutal as they were learning experiences, and it definitely plays into everything I do now.
You got to be able to get through it. And I think a lot of times too, the best, we were talking about it, learning and just hands-on doing it is just how you're going to get better and better and do it. And I think a lot of times people want to over plan, and they get into that, they get stuck in that. It's almost like the entrepreneurial seizure of you're just stuck in it and you can't break it because you think that's the only way. And everybody's different and how they do it. Some people need to script it out and read it, and they retain it. Then they can perform it. Julia Lopez, I think, is very much that way. She needs to know her content, like she knows her baseball.
Oh, yeah.
And she gets it down and she delivers it that way. But everybody's very different. I'm like you too. Give me the cliff notes, and I've got my bullets. I go in and know my content, deliver it.
Yeah.
I feel better that way.
Same.
Yeah. And so when we come back, we'll talk more about ABC 30 and what you're doing with ABC 30 and what's in the future, what's on the horizon. You've only been there 9 months, back to Fresno, a boomerang, but talk about your experience coming back to Fresno. It's changed a little bit while you were gone.
It has.
A lot of big things are happening here. So we'll be right back with more Business Leaders Live. Thank you for joining us on Facebook at Talk Radio 1680 KGED. We'll be right back in the studios. Good. He took it off. Cool. My phone is blowing up. Like 12 phone calls.
Really?
I'm trying to figure out what's going on here.
Breaking news somewhere?
No, I think a lot of times too, my family, they know I'm on the radio.
Mine would do that to me too.
They know and then you tell them I'm doing the radio show, and then they say, oh, that's right. Yeah. Oh, that's right.
What do you mean, oh, that's right? Like, you know what I do,
oh, that's right. I'm listening right now. Yeah. It's like, that's right. I'm listening. Yeah. It's like, really? Yeah. But it's family and a bunch of people. So, or they want to just tell you a funny story.
Sure. And now's the time.
Now's the time to do it. Yeah. I got to tell you right now. Yeah. It's like the Mike Rowe. You ever listen to Mike Rowe and his mom and dad? Oh. I love it. I was talking to my mom about it, and they're in Boston or wherever, and they're eating crab, and they're sitting on these tables, and it's the producer, Micro, and Mom and Dad.
Mm-hmm.
And as they're talking, Mom says something about, so why are you here? Well, I want to see you guys, and we're going to do this. But the dad goes, and cameras? You got to bring the cameras? He's like, well, we're going to make it an episode. We're going to talk and make it an episode, and, it'll be interesting. I'm talking to Mom and Dad. I got the producer. We're just talking about stuff. And the dad goes, interesting. That's interesting. Okay. And he just starts eating just a little stuff. The mom was like, so we have to bring cameras for us to see you. Yeah.
Yep. That's exactly what it is.
Do you remember our phone number? Yeah. It's like, yeah, I love it.
That's funny.
Mike, bro, he's classic. So with ABC 30, what do you see the future of, like, maybe where news is going? Like you were saying, there's a shift.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people embraced social and that aspect, but it became secondary, like we were talking about during a break. Secondary to news, it was just feeding news, but it's sort of like it's a lead generation. It's it's sort of leading out there, and then news is drilling down on the content.
Yeah. I mean, it's I don't know where it's going to go. That's the thing, we're going to keep trending the way we are towards social media and stuff. It's just the train's just going too fast to stop it now. And you've just got two different entities now, as opposed to being, news and social's feeding. It's kind of like, okay, we got news, we got the TV, and we got social, and we need to feed both of them. And they're just two trains running along parallel tracks that we need to kind of keep going at the same rate.
Yeah. We'll bring that up again when we're on radio. So we'll talk about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what do you, anything that we've left out that you want to make sure you mention on the air? 1 minute. We'll be right back. And thank you for joining us on Facebook if you're watching here. Talk Radio 1680 KGED.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think
we got it in. Good.
I think so. I don't know.
Good.
I'm never on this side of it, so I don't know.
You mentioned the niece. So
yes, I got her in.
I got her in. That's good. Good stuff. Perfect. And what's the big story today?
Today I'm filling in on sports. So
cool.
Yeah. So I don't even know what's going on right now. I haven't checked my emails, but
AB I'm sure did something.
Every time.
Yeah.
Every time.
Oh, this guy.
That popped off right before our 6 o'clock show, and I just had to scramble and get that on the air at 6 last Tuesday. Go away.
He flinches and they're jumping all over.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
You are listening to Business Leaders with Lance Cardoza, the behind-the-scenes story of the business shakers and movers in the Valley and beyond. Once again, here's Lance Cardoza.
Welcome back, everybody. Every Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. right here on Talk Radio 1680 KGED. It's time for Business Leaders Live. And joining me in the studio this past hour has been Brandon Johansen with ABC 30, a product of the Valley. You leave and go to Phoenix, ASU, and you come back to Kern County area and you start cutting your teeth on news. And it all started with you just jumping on the PA system at a baseball game and doing a little announcing. Yeah,
it's crazy how it worked out, but it has just worked out so well. I just feel really blessed to be able to be back. I love the Valley. It was one of those things where, you grow up in the Valley and if you're from Hanford and stuff, I want to get out for a little bit. I want to go and kind of, find myself and all that stuff. And I was able to go to Phoenix and grow up a lot, I think, while I was there. And then I loved Phoenix, but even while I was there, I thought, I like Fresno. There's a lot. And it was fun, being in Phoenix. I would go to the store and get a thing of grapes, and it was from Fowler Packing Company. It was so excited. Yeah, it's like, oh, that's right down the street. So being able to come back and, the city has come a long way from when I was little, I feel, and it's fun to come back and do these interactions and people, they come back to the Valley. So being able to be with friends and family and stuff while I'm back is really fun. So you come back to Fresno, like you said, a lot has changed. What is the one big thing that excites you about Fresno that you see that's happening with Fresno now compared to when you left to go to school, or maybe when you were a kid, and Fresno is a better Fresno today? Every day it gets better and better. Yeah, I mean, I think that there just seems to be, unless I just wasn't paying attention, there just seems to be a lot more pride in being from Fresno and being from the Valley than when I was little. And that could be in part because of social media and things like that. Because you see that a lot when we have, the taco truck throwdown. We've got these things that are now very Fresno. We have things that that's very Central Valley. And I think that those kinds of things, we're finding things for kids to do. We're finding things for young adults to do, and creating these events. I've been to a couple different events since being back, and it's like, hey, this is cool. I didn't know that this was going on in Fresno when I was little or when I was leaving for school.
Yeah.
And there just seems to be a bit more pride in it than maybe if I just probably wasn't paying attention before, but I am now.
And it actually, I think it's always been there, but I think it's now the pride is coming alive.
Yeah.
People are embracing it. It's funny that we see these stories where like the company Firestone made a little comment, and then all of a sudden it was like, Fresno people can talk garbage about Fresno.
That's right.
Yeah, but if anybody else,
I can pick on my little brother, but you can't.
but you can't. Yeah, and it just, they embrace it. They had the Broadway performer that poor guy. Right. I felt so bad for him, and he did his little apology. Hey, okay, that's my, he had a beer, and he had said something, and but it's amazing how, again, social, it lit up, you know, and then he comes out to Fres and the experience is like, wow, I would have never known.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times, maybe when you were young, you probably didn't see those things that were happening. And I think that happens today. It's still today that some people isolate themselves and don't get out and get involved with the community, like the Greek Fest, incredible event. And we have some great events in Fresno and a lot of pride of Fresno. And there is a lot of, I think, ethnic events that really support our culture.
Yeah, we have a ton of
Valley. That's been started right here in the Valley. And you know what? I'd love to see a story, and maybe this is a story you can work on.
I love story ideas.
Taco truck throwdown. And I know the Fresno Bee tried to dig in it, but and Sam Hansen, they call him the marketing ninja at the Fresno Grizzlies. Sam Hansen has always tried to figure this out too. And maybe they figured it out, but the very first taco truck in the history of taco trucks.
Ooh, man.
And they believe it was a trailer.
Okay.
And it was here on the west side. And they can't trace it back unless someone has by now, but I knew, where did the very first taco truck ever happen?
That's
and it's actually question. Fresno Bee reporter Mike Oz went around with a little skinny rail reporter, and they went around to eat the best tacos. And I remember Mike was like killing the tacos, and she was about ready to pop. But he was like, come on, you can do another one. And that started Taco Truck Throwdown.
Oh, wow.
From a story he did when he was a reporter with the Bee.
That's cool.
And it evolved and what came to the Grizzlies, and they put it all together. But really, it was celebrating the taco truck families, the owners of the trucks, and this competition.
It's a big part of who we are as a city.
Exactly. It's not just beer and tacos, but it really is a celebration of that cultural fabric of a taco truck. So I'd be very interested to find out.
I'm going to have to get in touch with him.
Yes. I know people argue that, no, we were the first,
sure.
But I wonder. I think Fresno County had the very first taco truck, I think. I don't know. Might want to argue. So, but Brandon, that'd be a great story.
That would. I like story ideas. Thank you.
Great feature. Where do you see yourself going from here? You love what you're doing now with ABC 30. What would you love to do in this business of news?
That is such a tough question that I get a lot. I truly don't know. I really like what I'm doing, and I really like where I am. It's one of those things where I'm just enjoying the moment and enjoying this time in my life, because I don't know. A lot of people, when they get into news, like we've talked about, I want to get to New York. I want to get to LA, and that's kind of their end goal. And that's what they want to do. Yeah. There's part of me that thinks, I'd like to go to LA, but there's the other part of me is like, well, I love Fresno and my family's here and stuff like that, and I wouldn't be opposed to hanging out here for quite a while. So it's one of those things where it's like, I'm just going to take it by ear and take it as the opportunities come. And I'm not trying to, I wouldn't say I'm trying to leave or anything. I'm trying to see where this business goes. I mean, this position is very unique in that I'm getting to dabble in the digital world and in the TV world and do both. And I think it'll very much depend on where we kind of go as a business is where I go.
Where you go, yeah. And then you wait for the next door to open, and then you kick it in.
Yeah.
And then you move on to the next area of your life in the news business. And it's constantly evolving, talking about social, before was sort of the secondary support system to TV, and now it's sort of becoming the lead generation and the breaking news side of it.
Yeah.
So you're right on the cusp of news and thrusted into also the ever-changing world of social too, and having to be ready.
Yeah, and
be ready for that.
Like you said, I mean, pretty much 100% of the time now, the news breaks online before it breaks on TV, because we're not on the air all the time, but we're always online.
Always on.
Yeah, and so it's become kind of these two trains running on parallel tracks. You got TV and you've got digital, and you have to keep them both going and feed them both. And it's a challenge, but it's fun, and I like being on both sides of it, and I've really enjoyed it so far.
Well, congratulations coming back home and landing the job with ABC 30, and I'm sure they love having you there. Brandon Johansen, ABC 30, and we'll be not right back next week, Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. We'll be back with more Business Leaders Live. Thank you for joining me. We're clear. Thank you, Facebook Live. Thank you for joining us. David, thanks, David and Woody. And thank you for being on.
Thanks for having me.
It was great. We'll take a picture. We're going to put it on our website.
Please, yeah.
And LanceCardoza.com. You can go and catch the show.
Perfect. Thank you for having me. That was awesome. That goes fast.